I am twirling my invisible mustache. We all go mad here once in a while. I mean, honestly, did I think that this go home episode of NXT lived up to last week's? In some ways, maybe. In others, not so much. I feel like this set up Vengeance Day for what needed to be set up, as well as looking beyond Vengeance Day as well.
Funny thing is I think this one should have came last week, and last week should have been this week.
I mean, you're not
you
necessarily
know,
wrong.
I mean, this wasn't a bad episode. It wasn't bad. It wasn't a bad go home show. It's just literally last week felt like the go home show,
It
and
was.
but I mean, yeah, it was a pretty good episode. It wasn't bad by any means.
No, I I enjoyed myself
Hmm.
this week. So let's just get into our introductions. Hello, Internet Land, and welcome to another rendition of Los Chicos Gordos, your weekly WWE NXT review team. I am your host, Mikey. Joined with me, as always, is my better half, my other half. I can't do this without him. We're both really exhausted from everything that is going on with NXT right now. Will, we're gonna get through this, I promise.
Oh yeah, we will.
And before we jump into the review, I have a quick announcement to make. So, we're going to be going through a rebrand here on the weekly NXT review shows. I'm trying to think, do we tell the kids what to expect or do we wait?
That's a good question. I'm just like, huh. I think we should tell them, but don't tell them the details.
Yes. Okay. So, we're going to be going through a rebrand a little bit. We're currently renting out the space on the internet. And we got word that we need to increase our space a little bit because our little NXT family is going to be growing very soon. Literally
Yes,
next week. It's going to be growing
yes,
next
this
week.
duo will become a trio very soon.
And I am super excited. It is going to be a trio. But you might be wondering who is going to be your third? You're going to have to tune in next week to find out.
Yep.
Just like an episode of Power Rangers.
That's funny.
I love it. So, we're going to be going through a rebrand. We are going to be adding a third co host starting next week. And as a hint, you've already seen their beautiful faces on some other shows here at the Biconics Wrestling Podcast. That doesn't totally narrow it down because that means that there are 7 other gentlemen here besides me and Will.
Yep.
But let the guessing games begin. But something that was not a guessing game was the first match that we got. This was our final semifinals match of the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. This saw LWO take on Trick Williams and Carmelo Hayes. And I really enjoyed this match.
I did too.
Ugh, this was so good.
The only thing about this match is it got spoiled for me.
Here, I know.
Yeah, I was like, oh, man.
So some details about this. I sent Will and our third co-host like the final card for NXT Vengeance Day. And as soon as I sent it, it wasn't until 10 minutes later when it hit me. I'm like, oh crap, Will hasn't watched the
I
episode.
haven't watched it yet.
Oops. So I apologize for spoiling it, but at the same time, I'm like, were we surprised though?
No, but and the lucky thing is this is the only one that I saw before I closed the message because I was like, oh, what's this? And I enlarged it, and it was the very first one, and I was like, oh, nope. I was like, nope. So I didn't see any of the others, so which is great, but I did see this one. But that's okay. It was still a great match, though. It was super good. I didn't care that I knew who was going to win. I already kind of knew who was going to win. We knew that Carmelo and Trick were going to go to the Vengeance Day. We knew it. We knew that. So, but it was fun to watch them fight LWO, though, who
were amazing this match too.
They are so cute.
I mean,
just saying, LWO is cute.
Yes, I totally agree. It just makes me sad because like they just hit different in NXT, and I'm like, why can't I get this on SmackDown? I was like, why can't they wrestle like this on SmackDown? I don't understand. It makes me sad.
Yeah.
But the fun thing about this match though is that it was a tag team match, but towards the last 5 minutes, from a storytelling perspective, Carmelo got knocked out of the match, and Trick kind of had a. It basically became a 2-on-1.
Yeah, it did. Which I think
Trick pulled
was
out the victory for his team.
super intentional. Like from the producer side of it, not the thing. But I was like, okay, because we've been spotlighting Trick for weeks now. I mean, truly, everything he does, they kind of put him in the front, that sort of thing. And so I was like, oh, okay, this is great. Of course, this whole match was great. I really did like it. I thought that Trick and Carmelo worked well together. Of course, LWO works well together, and so I thought they were pretty evenly matched. I didn't feel like, even though I knew what the outcome was going to be because you just knew, I didn't feel like it was a waste of my time. Like, because when you know the ending, it's like, should I even watch it? Why even watch it? But no, it was. I watched it. It was great. It was great, great man. 'Cause I love watching LWO. Man, they're just all over the place, and they're just high flying and just aggressive and awesome. I just love them. I think they're great.
Oh, absolutely. And the funny thing is so Trick and Carmelo pick up the victory here. And then, as they clear the ring, Obafemi comes out and starts destroying Joaquin Wild and Cruz del Toro, which then prompts Dragon Lee to come out and then get his butt whooped too in the middle of the ring.
You know, I don't know how I feel about this Obafemi thing. I mean, honestly, I don't. I mean, they're making him out to be a true like bad dude. Like someone needs to take him out, bad dude type of thing. Like vigilantes are going to show up and like take him out. I mean, it's like a Batman villain. It's like truly. I'm just like, and I don't know how I feel about it. I don't know yet. I don't know.
Right,
Because I like Obafemi. I think Obafemi is a great wrestler and he's a powerhouse and
right.
he can take out. He's a huge dude. I mean, huge, huge man. And I just don't know. I don't know how I feel about it yet. I mean, do you? I mean, are you? I mean, you tell me. I don't know. I don't know how to feel about it
I agree with you in the sense that I think Obafemi being a very powerhouse wrestler, I think suits him very well.
yet.
And his character is very interesting to tell as well. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago, and I kind of still feel the same way. I think they're pushing Obafemi because I feel that he's they see him as being ready to be in this position. But I also think this is a temporary thing until we either crown a new champion or they're gonna give Obafemi the push where he pretty much trails through the roster because we talked about this a couple weeks ago and we both kind of agreed. I feel that this is the spot that Wesley was supposed to be in, but because he's out on injury for
Right.
almost 8 months to a year,
Right.
we got to figure something
Got to
else
fill
out
it
to
in with
do.
somebody. Yeah, I get it. I do. I mean,
And
I
I,
get it.
yeah, and I don't want to say transitional champion, but honestly, as much as I like Obafemi, he, in a sense, in the best way possible, he is a transition champion until we figure out what else we're gonna do with the
Yeah,
NXT
that's
North
true.
American picture. And what I'm hoping is that NXT doesn't do what main roster tends to do about the whole time, is that while we try to figure out who's going to be the next staple for the NXT North American Championship, I'm hoping that Obafemi doesn't run through the entire men's division and then there's no real challengers left.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm like. That's why I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about what they're doing with him. I don't, because that's what it feels like. It feels like we're just gonna put you up against everybody. You can whoop everybody's butt, and yeah. And then it's like, well, okay, but then what? It's like, can we not give him an actual storyline? Because right now I don't feel like he has a storyline. I literally think it's just, okay, we want you to be a big powerhouse. We're going to give you the championship, and we're just gonna let you kind of literally just sort of siphon through everybody. You know, it's just like they're gonna go up against you. No one's gonna defeat you until we figure out what to do with it. And that is how it feels. It doesn't. I don't feel that he has, because I don't feel. Because here's the thing, and I was thinking about it. They didn't give him a transition from when he was coming in to through the knockouts and all that. We didn't get a transition. He was, because in the knockouts he was like, "Yeah, I'm here to do my thing," but he wasn't like. Then all of a sudden he was like switch turned over, and he was suddenly this like dictator is all I can say. I mean, it's what it feels like. Like I am now in control. Like he's got a god complex, and I'm like, where did that come from? Because his when he was competing with against everyone else, he wasn't like that. So I don't know. I thought it came out of nowhere. I mean, and I think if that's what they're doing, he was the right choice. But I'm just like, I really want him to have a storyline because we get to that point, like I was with Baron Corbin and Braun Breaker. It's like if this is who all he is, then I don't care about him. It's like if there's no challenge to him, like, and I always use the example of Superman. Superman, when he first hit the scene, he did not have any weaknesses. And then they realize that you can't have someone like that without a weakness, because then they're like basically a god and they can do whatever they want. So it's starting to feel like that. Like Obafemi is like Superman in that respect. The fact that nothing can touch him. And it's starting to get a little bothersome, not worrisome, bothersome for me. I'm just like, don't do this to him. He's a good wrestler. I mean, I'm pretty sure he's a pretty good guy, but I mean, I hate when they do things like this. And this is not just NXT. This is everybody. Anybody who does this sort of, oh, we don't know what to do with it, so let's just do this. And I'm just like, well, at least put him in a story arc. Give him something. I mean, it's like, don't just cycle him through everybody, and then when you get to the end, go, oh God, now what do we do? Because I'm just like, give the guy a story, give him a story, and then I'll latch onto it. I will jump on board with that so fast if he has a legitimate like storyline. But right now he doesn't have one, and they didn't give him anything. And I'm, I just hate that. It's funny. I was talking with one of my students today, and we were talking about NXT, this particular episode that I had not watched yet, but he was telling me his thoughts on it. He did ask me. He goes, "Have you watched it yet?" And I'm like, "No, I haven't watched it yet. But you can go ahead and talk about it if you want to. It won't bother me." And so we were talking about it, and we talked about Obafemi, and he was just like, he's like, I don't really get that guy. And I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, well, I mean, he's really cool, and I like him, but I don't get him. Like, what's he there for? Like, is this it? I mean, is this all he's there for? He's like, we say a lot. We see tons of that in like main roster. It's like, what are you doing? And I told him, I was like, well, it's probably because they don't know what to do with him yet. It's like they don't know what to do with him. Um, I mean, I didn't talk about him being a placeholder champion, but that makes total sense to me. Sort of, well, we need somebody to hold on to it until we figure out what to do with it. So give it to Hobafemi. Yeah, he can defend it. And then we'll just throw everybody we have at him until there's no one left, and we're forced to do something with him, is basically what it feels like. So, but anyway, I'm just confused by it. I mean, that's really it. I mean, he came in and was like stomping on people, and they were like, LWO was holding their own as best they could, and then Dragon Lee came in, they held on as best they could, and then he just obliterated them. And I was just like, I don't understand what's happening. I mean, why did he come in there? What was his beef with them? Did
I
I miss
mean,
something?
I don't think necessarily. I don't think they did a good job of telling it, but I know because Obafemi's going to be facing Dragon Lee, I guess, to kind of play mind games. But again, we've really only been building this feud towards this match at Vengeance Day for like a week
Yeah.
and a half, maybe, which has been like 2 weeks at best. And I don't think I think this is the weakest story going into Vengeance
Oh
Day for
yeah, very
sure.
much so.
And so they're just doing what they can to kind of
Yeah,
like I
I agree.
give it to it. But I was like, all right, well,
Yeah, whatever.
I mean, it is what it is. So we'll see what
I
happens.
will say before we go on, sorry,
Mhm.
I do think that this Dragon Lee challenge Obafemi at Vengeance Day is kind of unnecessary. It's like, I mean, it's just going to be a repeat. We know that.
Right.
We know this. We know that Dragon Lee's not going to
Right.
win.
No.
So it's like, why are we doing this again? It's just, I don't know. I just those ideas, it's like when and the other when we do the other review, it's just like with well, that's Naomi now, but Trinity and Jordan Grace, and they fought again, and we're like, we know what the outcome's going to be. Why are we doing it? It's like I'm a real big no guy when it comes to redundancy. I hate redundancy. I absolutely hate it. And this is just one of those. I'm just like, is it really necessary? Give him a real challenger. I mean, someone that is there that can really challenge him, not a because this just feels it just makes me feel bad for Dragon Lee, honestly. And because I like that dude. I mean, I totally respect him as a wrestler. I think he's great. And I'm just like, why throw salt in the wound? I mean, honestly, because that's what it's going to be. It's going to be a big. Anyway, okay, I'll stop talking about it. Go on to the next thing. Yeah, I just I don't know.
We can talk more about it when we do our
That's fine.
predictions for Vengeance Day. So that
That's
that
fine.
stay tuned for that separate video, by the way.
Yeah.
So then backstage, we are seen with Ava Rain and Ridge Holland. Ridge Holland wants to fight all three members of Gallus at once. Ava's like, "Are you crazy, my dude?" And then Lexus King shows up with like a housewarming party like basket with like two pictures of him and some merchandise. And Ava's just like, "Oh, thanks. I'm so excited." Like this was funny.
Funny.
And then she gives the basket to Ridge. It's like Merry Christmas. And then Ridge is like regifting, gives it back to Lexus.
Yeah.
Ultimately, this sets up Ridge versus Lexus King later in the night. I thought this was funny.
It was. It was a funny moment.
It was. And then we go to earlier today segment where Tatum Tot Paxley is still being an absolute stalker, like admiring a photo of Lyra Valkyria, and then begins to start texting her like 50 million times already. And then Lyra comes in, it's like, girl, I got all your 50 million messages. We need to talk about some boundaries here. But more importantly, when I told you that I was focused on Roxanne and she was eating up my time, I did not mean for you to throw her through a table.
Yeah. So
And
funny.
Tatum's like, well, I mean, you said this and I'm gonna take care of it. And I'm like, Lyra's like, no. So tonight, while I am out there, we figured this out. We'll talk about this later, but I need you to leave Roxanne alone. And then she proceeds to leave. Well, no, Tatum leaves, and then Lyra's like, okay, this is weird. Looks at the photo like on an altar shrine,
Mhm.
like, hey, Arnold status. And she's like,
Yep.
oh, man.
Yep. So funny.
Love me some Tatum Tot,
Me
as we have
too.
dubbed her here.
I love Tatum Tot. I love her so much. She's super fun.
I mean, speaking of which, we're not done talking about her
Nope.
because then we get into our next match. This is a quick one: Roxanne Perez versus Tatum Tot. So Roxanne Perez versus Tatum Paxley. This was a quick back and forth, 2 minutes. Roxanne picks up the win.
When did this match get? Was this at last episode when she threw it through the table? Did she challenge her to a fight, or is this just
We didn't get no challenge, but I figured once Tatum threw her through the table last week,
basically
I
they
was
were
like,
gonna?
oh, they're
Okay,
gonna fight
that's
on the
fair.
go home show
I
because
just
we
want to make
can't
sure I didn't miss something. I was like, did I?
because we
Miss
had the
something?
contract signing between Lyra and Roxanne
Yeah.
last week, and when
Tatum put Roxanne through a table. I was just like, oh god.
Tatum Tot is going vigilante status.
I was here for it too. I loved it. I was like,
Yeah,
go
but
Tatum.
So Roxanne picks up the victory here. Then she proceeds to beat up Tatum Paxley. Mind you, Lyra was out here for commentary, so she goes into the ring in her like I don't even want to call them like new wave era boots. Like, girl
Yeah,
was wearing some thick platforms,
she was.
and I
She
kind of want
was.
them now.
They were actually kind of cool. I actually liked them a lot.
I know. I was
But
just
I
like,
do,
all right,
and I
we're
think
gonna
it's
look for them.
yeah, I know. It's like hey girl, where can I buy them boots? Because they were pretty fly. Um, I love that she went in and like defended Tatum Tot. I love that. I love that, because Lyra's just like, you are a weirdo, get away from me. And then when Roxanne was attacking her, she jumped in there and like helped. And then and I like the subtle details. When
She's
Lyra
my
and
weirdo. Don't beat her
Roxanne
up.
and Lyra and Roxanne are like facing off with each other in the background, she's like, like looking at Lyra. I was like, oh my god, she's so
It's
weird,
like,
and I'm
I
loving
know
her.
Tatum's just like, I'm like, Tatum, are you a masochist? Like, what is
I
happening
love
here?
her so much. I love this. These crazy little characters are so much fun.
It is great.
Ugh.
So then from here, we head backstage. Ariana Grace is trying to like influence Ren Sinclair, which was so funny. And then she inadvertently talks smack with about Fallon Henley, and then Fallon Henley's right behind her. So NXT's trope of talking smack and somebody's right behind you, listening to the whole thing.
Uh-huh.
And this pretty much just sets up we're getting Ariana versus Fallon later. And she's like, Ren, come with me. And then Ren follows Fallon.
This
We'll
is
talk more about that
Yeah,
match
that's a fun
later.
little duo they've got going on there all of a sudden.
Oh, for sure. I'm super
Yeah, I'm
excited.
curious to see where this is going.
I know, and we get consistency when we get to the
Yeah.
match later because we'll talk about the women involved here. In another quick match, we were super excited for this, and you know what? I feel that it kind of served its purpose only because as
It
someone who
did.
watches the main roster shows too, Elektra Lopez made her SmackDown debut um this past Friday on the Go Home show before the Royal Rumble, where she involved herself with Santos Escobar and Legado del Fantasma when they were facing off against LWO on SmackDown. Love Elektra's gear.
Mm-hmm.
I love Lola's gear. This is a quick match, and you know what? Lola made Elektra tap out, which I was like, you know what? I'm okay with that.
I agree. I agree with you on both of those. I agree that I think this match basically did what it was supposed to do. And we got, dare I say, closure. But we got the idea that I think it's what's done is done now, is what it
And I
feels
feel
like to
that
me.
Elektra is now officially moving to main roster for
Right.
SmackDown.
Correct. I think that this was her sayonara, match.
Hmm.
So, which is fine and that's great, and I wish her all the best, of course, because I like her a lot. I like both of them actually, but this match did exactly what it was supposed to do, and yeah, I just I really, and it didn't. I thought, even though it was short, I thought it was exactly the length it needed to be, because this needed to be a come in, get an ass whooping, and go home. And it's what it was. It was like, all right, done. All right, what's next? It was like, literally, I was like, all right, girl, you got it.
Alrighty, so Elektra is SmackDown bound, hopefully officially, and Lola still has so Lola still has her contract.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm interested to see when she pulls that out. Okay, so from here we get into part one of the trilogy that was Dijak and Joe
Oh my
Gacy.
god, this first scene
It was
was
so good.
so fun. I mean, and I have to say, I'm glad that they're putting Dijak into humorous situations, because he's been so like the evil bad guy.
He's been very
Yeah,
antagonistic,
he has
and
been,
we have
and
been blurring some lines
yeah, we
because
have been.
his whole feud with Eddie Thorpe was blurring a lot of lines.
It was, and now, and all you out there listening to us, if you listen to us, I am in love with Joe Gacy. I am in absolute love with this character. Oh my god, he has taken this crazy, like batshit crazy character and has just made it delightful. Like, I wait for it now. It's like, oh, every NXT, I was like, oh, we're gonna have a Joe Gacy sighting. Are we gonna have a Joe Gacy sighting? It's like literally. And when Dijak is sitting in his little whatever that is, that little dark room, like centering himself, and Joe Gacy just comes in there. Oh my god, I was crying laughing just because Joe
It was
Gacy.
so good.
Oh my
And I'm
god.
looking at as I'm watching this, and I was like, "Who still uses a tape recorder? Like, what is this?" But yeah, so Dijak is watching what he did to Joe Gacy last week on a little monitor. Joe Gacy comes in. They basically exchange some words. Joe Gacy messes with the tape recorder a little bit, and then they start brawling. I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be so much fun."
But it was
And this was only
so
part one.
funny. When he put the bully stick up on the table, he was just and how he just nonchalantly referred to it. It was just and then when he left, Joe Gacy leaves, and the my favorite part is when he comes flying back in, and then he and Dijak go into it. I was like, oh my god, this is
This is camp.
brilliant, and I cannot wait to see. And I just love, and the funny thing is I wish we had gotten more of this, like not just last week, but like in weeks past. Like I wish we could have seen a really cool, like crazy, like build up to this. And even though I love this, don't get me wrong, I love this, and I'm not mad at it at all. But Joe Gacy has got me, man. I am a Joe Gacy fan. Totally. I want him to go through and just futz with everybody. I mean, truly. I want him to show up in random places, just random. Or, you're in a backstage sequence and you see him peering out from behind something. I want that. I want that with him. And yeah, this first one was, it was so fun. It was so fun. And
It was.
it was good seeing Dijak in something like this as opposed to what we normally see him in.
Right, which I think is a breath of fresh air.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this is only part one,
Part
so we're
one.
going to talk about part two and part three later. So next we get Rich Holland versus Lexus King, and the internet took the memes with this match because there's at one point where Lexus went to go pin Rich. I was like, "Sir, are we eating? Like, what is happening?" It's like I was like, "Sir," I was just like,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, giggity."
Yeah, I know, right? So,
So
oh, go ahead.
yeah, let's you messaged me when you were watching this, and as I was watching this, I was like, I don't know how I feel about this match.
I have a
I don't think it
feeling.
was bad, but I was just like, this match was rough in the sense that I thought someone was about to get hurt. Like
Well, you
there was a couple
saw,
of botches.
yeah, well, you saw when he like put him in the headlock and his arm went over his face, and Ridge kept trying to pull his arm down, and he kept popping it up, and he was pulling it down. It's like that wasn't supposed to happen. This wasn't supposed to happen. It was supposed to be this, so that Ridge could control it. But when it went across his face, you could see Ridge literally like, dude, this is hurting. It's like this is wrong. You're gonna hurt me. And I was just like, this match feels unsafe. And I also have beef with this match. How long are they gonna continue this? This poor Ridge has no friends. How long are they gonna keep going with this? Because I mean,
Well,
it was like,
yeah. So spoiler alert: Lexus picks up the victory over
yeah,
Ridge due to an assist from the Gallus boys. And so then the Gallus boys continue to beat up on Ridge, and nobody comes
nobody
out to
comes to help
save
him.
him.
No, even Lexus King like runs away.
He's like, "Nah, I'm not about to get beat up by three
Yeah,
burly dudes." And I was like, "I mean, though,
I mean,
I'm
I
just
would
saying."
have like manhandle me. But I just, I just, it's really, I am very much like, how much longer are you going to play on heartstrings? Because that's what it is. It's like we need to get past this. Somebody, we just need one person. I vote Eddie Thorpe, but we just need one person to come out and back him up. That's it. Hell, I'll take one of the ladies. It's like somebody needs to come out, and because I'm just like, I'm really beginning to feel bad for Ridge, like legitimately bad for him, not character bad for him, just like as a human being feeling bad for him. And I'm just like, so I have beef with this match. That and Lexus King did not win that match. He took that match. So because poor Ridge gets knocked unconscious for a second, and then yeah, I was like, whatever, Lexus can go away. And then and I mean, but I'll say Ridge was holding his own against Gallus there for a little bit. I mean, he was on it, and I give it to him. And then of course, Gallus is they're gonna do whatever they can to get what they want, and they did. And I don't know. I'm kind of getting tired of it.
Well, here's hoping that in the next couple of weeks, like we said, I would love to see, because Gallus is a 3-person group. Rich is going to need to find 2 people, hopefully, to back him up. I'm wondering if, I would love to see Eddie Thorpe be one of them. And if they wanted to have somebody from main roster work down here, I mean, he is getting close to coming back from injury. Sheamus would also be a very good choice. Sheamus, Ridge, and Eddie Thorpe would be kind of fun. But you know what? We will see what happens. And you know what? I think the story is to eventually, I think Ridge is going to end this part of the feud with the Gallus boys where he does have friends and people he can trust in here. I want it to be Eddie Thorpe because I want Eddie Thorpe more on my television screen.
Indeed.
So then we head backstage. So this is the first Trick Mellow Gang segment that we're going to get. And the gaslighting is still here, and Lord have mercy, it's crazy. So Carmelo and Trick, can be easily divided into 2 halves for this little segment. The first half is them talking about, their match that they just had at LWO, against LWO, I should say. And then the second half of this promo, Carmelo is just like, bro, continuing to play mind games with Trick. It's like, Ilya did this, Ilya did that, blah, blah, blah. We got to lock and load and whatnot. And so it was starting to kind of work a little bit, but then I feel, and we'll talk about it when we get to the ending of this, because I don't think it worked 100%, because I feel like Trick snapped out of it towards the end, which we'll get into in the main event. But yeah, Gaslighting Central, Carmelo Hayes is still out here doing his thing. But also, shout out to Carmelo Hayes and Braun Breaker really quickly for making their, being a part of the Royal Rumble this past weekend. It was great to see them. And then Roxanne representing the NXT women's division, as well as Tiffy. Tiffany was also in the Rumble this weekend, too. So great.
Sweet.
I'm going to talk to Will, though, because Jordan Grace was also in the Rumble, which was so bizarre to watch.
Yeah,
I'm sure Will saw all the clips already
Yeah.
from all over the internet. I was just like, what is happening?
Yep.
And then Trinity / Naomi came back. We'll talk. Go check out my Royal Rumble review, because I did a pretty good job of covering the Royal Rumble in 20 minutes by myself. It was great. All right. So before we move on to probably my favorite in-ring segment of the whole night, Will, do we have any quick thoughts on Trick and Mello?
No, I'm ready for that whole thing to come to a head.
Oh, it's going to this
I
Sunday.
know
It's going
it
to be
is
glorious.
absolutely. I'm just ready for it to. I'm ready for us to move on from it now.
Yes. But things I don't want to move on from, because this was probably my favorite segment of the whole entire night. The first half, this was the funeral for Chase U. And I gotta say, this is so camp. It's so hokey.
God.
Like we had a whole eulogy.
Yeah.
Like everybody was dressed in like Andre Chase, Duke,
funeral.
and Riley were all dressed in black.
Oh my God.
It was so funny. And then we had a video package of all of the history of Chase U from 2020. I was like, dang, Chase U has been around for 4 whole years. That's crazy. Or 3 whole years, I should say. But that's crazy still. And we got the video packages of like Andre Chase cursing people out, which is funny. And then they're about to say goodbye. But then who comes to the rescue but our girls, JC Jade and Thea Hale. And you know what? Remember how months ago we talked about how we want this character art for JC to end with her growing? She graduated. Oh my. This is character development. And she even admitted, she's like, you know what? I wasn't sure if I even was going to like JC, but you know what? I have grown. I have changed. And because of your friendship, that is with Thea and with the rest of you boys, I guess, we came up with the plan, and we're going to save the university and introducing the Girls of Chase U calendar. And my immediate thought was just like, WWE, you better put this thing on sale. We're gonna buy it and we're gonna review it if this is a thing. This is gonna make monies. And then we get the parade of all the girls that participated. And we get a little preview cover of JC and Thea like being tastefully hot in the picture. I was just like, I don't know what's happening. And I'm like, I'm confused, but I'm slightly turned on. I don't know what to feel right now.
I know, right? I thought it was brilliant though.
Segment was so good. It was so
It
camp. I
was
was here for it.
so great. I loved it too. I love. I have to say that since this has all been going on, I think the Chase U story arc has been one of my absolute favorites. Absolute favorites. And I love JC coming out talking about how, I saw you guys, how y'all were like a family, and I wanted friends, and I found them, and it was so great. And I love, and that's what I was telling you. You and I have been a big fan of the JC Thea thing since the beginning, and we were always like, God, I hope this isn't like like she's sneaking in to tear him down from the inside. And it wasn't. It hasn't been, and it's been so good. It has been so good. So now I'm waiting for JC and Thea to like go for a tag team championship. I am totally waiting for it.
Oh, I am so ready for them to take the women's tag titles at some point.
Oh my god, that would be so great.
I'm looking forward to whatever concocted segment we're getting at Vengeance Day between all this. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't wait. This is high camp for me. I am so. This is good cheesy storylines, and I feel that that's what most wrestling promotions tend to forget. It's okay to give us like a hokey, cheesy wrestling storyline. It doesn't need to be super serious all the time. It's supposed to be fun. That's why it's called wrestling entertainment. My
Exactly.
goodness. Well, we're going to talk
Exactly.
more about Chase U down the line because it seems that we're setting up maybe another feud for Chase U, but you know what? We'll talk about them in a bit.
Yeah, this will be fun.
Yeah. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna kind of roll the two segments together because they're like the side of the same coin. So first we get the family. They're talking about their business. They're outside of a warehouse. And basically, this is the first half of this where they call out OTM. The OTM doesn't know what they're getting into, and they better be ready for Vengeance Day because they're gonna take care of business. And then later we get the second half, which is from OTM's perspective. So OTM pretty much in their own way say the same thing, that the family has had it good and that they've kind of gotten complacent. So OTM's going to remind him that they're playing their game and Jada Parker is about to wreck house. Honestly, the most exciting thing I am for this six man is that I want to see what Jada Parker's going to do in this match. I think Jada Parker is the one that I'm looking out for in this match for me, only because I like her attitude, I like her style. I think she injected the right amount of charisma that OTM needed. But pretty much both the segments, both teams basically said the same thing, just in their own different way. That the other team needs to be ready, and that they're going to come Vengeance Day, they're going to show up and show out. I think the match itself is going to be fun, but I've not been the. I mean, I can't say I haven't been the best. Like, I like the build for this because I liked when Jada Parker took OTM and they trashed the restaurant. That was cool.
Yeah.
But now it's not like retaliation, revenge, like destroying their house or whatever. Now they're just talking smack. I'm like, okay, so they destroyed the restaurant and that's it. Oh, okay, I guess that's fine or whatever. I will say I have a little bit more investment in this match, and I think the build to this has been fun. But this is like, if I were to rank everything from number 1 to 6, I'm gonna rank this like at number 5, just slightly above Obafemi and Dragon Lee's build for their match at Vengeance Day. I think the match is gonna be good itself at Vengeance Day, but I don't necessarily am not the biggest fan of the build that we've got so far. It's been all right.
Yeah, I agree. I think she's gorgeous. She's so pretty.
Listen, my
I was
bisexual
just like
I'm
whenever they were
conflicted with my feelings because my little bisexual heart is like, yes.
Because when they were sitting there, outside, whatever, and she was talking, I was like, God, you were so beautiful and well spoken. That's the other thing. She's well
Mhm.
spoken. She's super pretty. She's intelligent. As opposed to, which I was really kind of worried about because the sort of thuggy nature of OTM. I thought that she was going to come in there and be like the stereotypical like black girl, or the sort of girl with the attitude and doesn't speak well proper English, that sort of thing. Because I thought they were going to ghetto her up really bad. And I was just like, oh God, please don't do that. Please go the opposite of that and make her like a super strong, smart woman. And that's what they did. And I'm really excited about that. And what the funny thing is the minute she joined OTM, like their total like street value went up. It was like, wow, you guys don't look so gross anymore. You guys are like, okay, all right. So I'm kind of like, I think this is exactly what OTM needed. I think, when they first hit the scene, I was not liking them at all. And now I kind of do. And I don't know if that's just because of her or her influence, which I hope that that's what it is. It's just sort of the influence that she's had over them. So now they're not so like literally I can imagine she's like, y'all need to bathe. Y'all need to bathe and put on some clean clothes. I mean, seriously, like wash your nappy hair. I can see her doing it. And I'm like, that's what they needed. That's exactly what they needed. And now they're like, to me, they look like a well put together, even though they are very much still who they are. But now they seem so much more like tailored. They're not so rough anymore. And I like that. So yeah, you go, girl.
Yeah, so I'm excited for the match of Vengeance Day. Should be good. So really quickly, we got to talk about it. We got Sad Boy Brooks Jackson because Fallon's getting ready for her match against Ariana Grace later. And Brooks comes in and he's trying to get Fallon to remember the good times, like remember the past. And then before he can ask the deeper question, Ren comes in and is like, "Oh, you have your match next." And Fallon's like, "Hey, I gotta go. We'll talk later." And then Fallon leaves with Ren without giving it a second thought. And Brooks is just sad, and he's like, "Yeah." And then he just like sits there and leaves. What is it? Our poor baby Brooke Jensen, like poor baby.
I know. I wonder what they're gonna do with him now.
I know, because of the three of them, like, and we talked about it a couple weeks ago. Like, we were paying attention in the background, and he was just being sad in the background.
Yeah, he was just sort of sad in the
I
background.
was just like, I don't know what's gonna happen. Like,
Uh,
Josh is getting a big push.
yep.
He's had him and Trick Williams had the match last week. Fallon's getting a lot of screen time. Like, she
Yeah,
was
she
Final
is.
Four in that Battle Royal.
Hmm.
She had one of the best segments with Tiffany at the ranch.
Yeah,
Like, we're gonna talk about her in a sec with her match against Ariana Grace, which I thought was really stellar too.
it was.
But Brooks has just really haven't had any matches, no nothing. He's just
No.
been relegated to be in the background. But I'm very interested to see what we're building to with this because this is the first real post breakup segment with Brooks in it talking to everybody else. I was like, wonder if we're gonna get a jealous
Yeah.
ex. He's like, you two are successful. I got nothing.
I got
So if
nothing.
I can't be happy, nobody
Yeah.
can.
Like, they're like, you abandoned me.
He goes crazy and he joins with Tatum Tot. That'd be
Yeah.
hilarious.
Oh my God. Him, crazy Brooks, Tatum
Joe
Todd,
Gacy,
and
they form
Joe
a
Gacy.
faction.
Oh my God. Oh my God. I'm kind of here for it. I
Insanity.
want it to happen now.
It's so good. But yeah, we'll see what happens with Brooks
Yeah.
and poor baby Brooks. I fell for him this episode. So we're not done with the backstage stuff. So we get like
Mm-mm.
2 and 1. So Chase, you are celebrating backstage. They're getting ready, to figure out what to do. JC's ordering bottle service, I guess now, which was
Yeah, no.
crazy. And then And then Lexus King walks in, and I'm like, ew, gross. And
Gross.
literally, Thea's like, ew, gross.
Gross.
And he's hitting on JC and Thea, which then I'm very surprised. I was expecting Duke to come to Thea's aid. No, Riley comes
Riley
to
does, yeah.
Thea's aid and tells Lexus to step off. And then Lexus is like, bro, we're gonna fight later, and then leaves. And then Thea gets all crushed. She's just like, I like you a lot. Well, I like you a little.
Yeah. I don't know, like
And
this
then
king is just like nobody likes you. He's like, that's why nobody likes you, and then walks
I
away.
like you
I like you.
a lot.
Oh,
Well,
well,
okay, I like you a little.
I like you a little bit.
And then before we get anywhere, the five of them just hear crashing
oh,
coming from next
oh
door, and
my
they
god.
disperse. And then we see Joe Gacy and Dijak part 2. They're still fighting, and everyone's like they fight across the camera screen, and then
Oh
that's
my
it.
god! And then the camera gets knocked out of the person's hand. Oh my god! It was so funny.
I was like, dang, they're gonna go at it. And then it was at this point I was just like, there's no way we don't get something at Vengeance Day between these
Yeah.
two. And we'll talk about that later, but this was funny.
Yeah.
So then Fallon Henley versus Ariana Grace. We kind of talked about it a little bit beforehand. This match was awesome.
It was.
Fallon always is great, but Ariana really did the damn thing for me. I was like,
She surprises me every time.
she is so good. And then I kind of remember, I'm like, oh yeah, you're Santino's daughter.
I
You know
know.
how to wrestle.
That's what's so
And
funny.
the
I forget
comedic
every
chops
time.
too, the facial
Yep.
expressions and everything. I'm like, oh, you're totally your dad.
Oh yeah. I completely keep forgetting about that. So that's
Yeah, I
why
was just
I'm
like,
always surprised, and it's like,
Santino's
why am I
daughter.
surprised? It's it's
I'm
Santino's
like, you're
daughter.
Santino's daughter. We know how good Santino is from the wrestling
Yeah.
and the comedic bits.
Uh-huh.
But what surprised me though is the consistency because Lash Legend came out and she helped Ariana
Yeah.
by through. And I was just like, because Fallon
Yep.
and I loved what we got. I was like, oh yeah, that's right. Fallon dumped Lash over
Uh-huh.
in the battle royal, and so Lash is getting back at her, and so I'm so happy to see Lash kind of be involved in a
Uh-huh.
feud now. I was
I
like, I think
agree.
it's time to start putting her out more.
I agree.
But because of Lash Legend's assistance, Ariana Grace picks up the victory here against Fallon. I'm excited. This is gonna be good.
I agree. I love every time Ariana Grace gets into the ring, I like her more and more. And I agree with you. I keep forgetting that she's Santino's daughter. And so duh, she can wrestle. Of course she can. It's like because the character she portrays is so she does it so well that it's like it literally feels like this inexperienced wrestler, this girl that's just come to like, oh, this feels like a hobby to me. I'm just gonna go and try it, is what it feels like, So she plays the character so well, and then she fights, and I'm just like, oh wait, oh that's right, it's like, but she like pulls me into that. She pulls me into that character every single time she's on the screen, and I love that about her. And I have because you and I both did not like her at the beginning. We were like, the
Like what?
pageant
I don't
trope,
know what you're talking about. No, I'm
Yeah,
just
no,
kidding.
not at all.
No,
Oh,
because
no. And now
we were
I like her a lot.
we had our first impression of what kind of character she was gonna
Uh
be.
huh.
But then she's within the short span of like a month and a half, she's kind of expanded it beyond what we thought it was going to be, which
Mm-hmm.
I was like, good. This is how you're going to present this
Yep.
character over. And honestly, I'm here for this really weird pageant girl character
Oh,
who
me
also
too.
has the skills to back it up and gets more vicious when things don't go her way too.
Yep.
I was like, yes, give me a carry, but less murdery.
Yes. She's very much her father's daughter.
Yes.
Yeah,
So good.
this was a good
So
match though.
yeah, so things get out of order a little bit because I hate that we get an entrance and then we cut backstage and then we come back to entrances.
I
So
was
I'm just gonna put this in the order that I felt like. So Dijak and Joe Gacy are fighting outside, and this culminates in Dijak throwing Gacy off the top of whatever they're in into a trash bin down below. I was like,
so
oh my gosh, we witnessed manslaughter on television again.
I
This
loved
was so funny.
I loved when Dijak was like choking him out basically, and Gacy's like, "It's too high, it's too high, it's too high," And he's like,
I
oh,
know
what? And
Dijak
then
was
he
choking him out. I was
headbutted
just
him,
like,
and he was like, and he just kneed him right off
so
that
good.
production van or whatever it was into the dumpster. And I was like,
S-
oh my god,
This is the best. Oh, I'm so excited to talk about the dumpster spot when we get to
oh
it
my
later.
god, I know,
But
me
yeah,
too.
Dijak man, Dijak killed him again. Like, what
Yep,
is? I was like NXT parking lot and outside, man. This
yep.
is where fights happen. People get jumped.
Where
People get
like,
kidnapped.
yeah,
People get
near
thrown
death
off things.
experiences happen. I mean, it's like, yeah.
The crime rate is crazy in the NXT parking lot. It's crazy. And then we get the quickest Braun Breaker and Baron Corbin segment of the week. This was funny as hell too.
These
And then
two.
Braun's like, "Wait a minute, what did you say? The Wolf Dogs? I thought you didn't like it. Look, man, this is not the issue here. We got to be ready because Trick and Mello are going to bring it. We need to bring it." But this is funny because Baron Corbin likes the Wolf Dogs.
I know, it's so funny. This, oh my god. The more and more I see these two together, the more and more I absolutely love them. Like, absolutely fucking love them. And I hate it. I I do. I hate it because I was such a hater of these two for the longest since I've been here, really. And it literally wasn't until they became a freaking tag team did I go, I love these two. I love these two together. I do not like them individually. Like, I don't like them as solo fighters. I love them as this crazy ass tag team. And I want them to win at Vengeance Day. And I love me some Trick. Don't get me wrong, but I want the Wolf Dogs or War Dogs or whatever they're called. I want them to win. I have never in my life, since I've been watching NXT, have I wanted someone to win so bad. Like I want them to win. Like really. And this time in this sequence, it was reversed because Braun put his fist out and then Corbin was like, "No, man, you ruined it," and he walked away. And then he came back and was like, "Ah!" I was like, "Oh my god, I freaking love you guys!" It's like,
We've said it on multiple
oh,
episodes beforehand, and we talked about this a little bit. I want them to win the tag titles at some point.
I do too. It's like because I mean, I know they're both heels, but they when they're a tag team, they're like
It's
it's
comedic
like
heels, which
it's
I
like
love.
Harley
I love
Quinn
seeing
and
it.
Poison Ivy in the animated
Oh
show.
my gosh.
You know, I freaking love them so much.
I do too. I love this segment. I can't wait.
Uh huh.
So
Me either.
now we're getting into the final stretch of things. So really quickly, because for me personally, there's not too much to talk about. We did get an NXT Heritage Cup Championship match. Noam Dar won from two to
Duh.
zero in 4 rounds.
Duh.
I love that Mr. Stone's kids were in the audience. That one is like yelling at Vaughn the whole entire time. I was like,
Yeah.
he's my favorite right now.
Yeah.
It was kind of crazy. I don't know what's happening though, because as soon as Noam Dar picks up the victory, then Vaughn goes on a rampage, like enters rage and throws Aura Mensa through the table.
Oh, attacks all. I mean, he attacks Dar and Mensa both because he
I
picks
was
up
like, what is
Mensa and Dar
happening?
goes to help and he kicks Dar in the face and
Like,
then
damn.
just slammed Mensa into the table. And I'm just like, what happened? And then they're over there celebrating.
Yeah, Mr. Stone, Vaughn are celebrating with Mr.
Like they
Stone's
won the
kids. I was just
match.
like,
That's what was so funny. It's like they literally were like, "We won."
this
It's
was
like
the weirdest match segment thing ever. I
it
was like,
really was.
this was
But
a
the
fever
funny thing
dream.
the funny thing about this is I never really understood this match from the very beginning. Like I didn't understand why this match happened. I mean, I know why it happened, but it's like why did it happen? It's like just because a thing can happen doesn't mean it should happen. And I just felt like this was so, dare I say, staged just for, and it was technically the main event. And I'm just like, why was this the last match of the night? this should not have been the last match of the night. I'm sorry, but it should not have been at all. It's like,
Right. I'm just like, all right, well, it was the thing that happened.
yeah,
But then it led into something I was really excited about. So Ava Rain is outside with Dijak near the dumpster where Joe Gacy
this
fell
was my
into.
favorite.
Ava Rain was yelling at Dijak. It's like, are you kidding me? I was like, he's like, Dijak, are you mad? Like, what happened? And Dijak's like, no. I was like, Gacy's like a cockroach. He doesn't go away. And it's like, I want him at Vengeance Day. And I want there to be no rules. And Ava's like, well, you know what, Dijak? I was like, you're nuts. There's only one way to do this. This is just like, I'm not going to give you this match to Joe Gacy. You think he's 100% after falling in the trash can? And this is where Gopher Joe Gacy pops up from the trash can. It's like,
Shit's falling off of him. It's
like in trash coming out of his mouth and spits it out. He's like, hey, I'm going to be okay. So this sets up Dijak versus Joe Gacy at Vengeance Day and in a no DQ match.
which I'm so excited for. I'm just
I was like, this is our inner masochist is gonna be
and
so
and the
happy.
funny thing is I don't even care who wins.
No, this is gonna
I
be
literally
good.
just want to see this match happen.
And we're getting it at
I
Vengeance Day. I was
know.
just
I'm
like,
so excited.
this is gonna be so good. So speaking of Vengeance Day, we get the bumpers. They run down the card of what to expect at Vengeance Day, and we're gonna do a separate video on our predictions for this, which then leads into our final thing of the evening. Ilya and Trick Williams come face to face into the ring, and they talk about it. And I was just like, I really like this promo
Mm-hmm.
between both of them. This is good because they go back and forth.
Yep.
You know, Trick is kind of spelling out what Carmelo has been saying about Ilya. Ilya's refuting it, but then Trick forgets about that and just talks from his heart and is just like, look, this is not the same Trick Williams that needed something to prove. Now this is the Trick Williams that has everything to gain. And I'm not going to, and I'm going to give you everything I got, which Ilya's like, good. I want you to give me everything you got because otherwise it's not going to be a good match. And then as Ilya and them shake hands and go for the hug, Ilya gives the death hug
Oh my
like he did with
god.
Baron Corbin,
I
which was crazy.
loved that.
I can cut the tension with a
Mm-hmm.
knife. It was
Well, the
crazy.
look on Trick's face, he was just like,
Trick
"Oh
is a little nervous, but
God, what just happened?"
yeah,
But
which then prompts the Wolf Dogs to come out and attack Ilya and Trick. Carmelo comes in for the save. Trick and Carmelo push the Wolf Dogs out of the ring. And then I love this fight. I'm a big sucker for good cinematography.
well,
This last camera shot was great because in the way background, you have the Wolf Dogs outside of the ring on the apron staring at Trick and Carmelo. Carmelo is giving Trick the evil eye as Trick is and Ilya are still staring off as the show goes off the air. And Trick is no Carmelo is not happy with what he's seeing.
nope, no, he is not.
And that is how NXT goes off the air this week. So we got a lot to talk about with the predictions. We're gonna do a separate video on that. Stay tuned. That video is gonna go up literally on Sunday morning before Vengeance Day, and we'll see if we end up being right. But Will, last thing we got to do, let's rate this week's NXT episode.
Okay.
So this was the go home show before Vengeance Day. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how did we feel about this episode?
Well, I don't think this one was as good as last week's episode. I think it was good, but last week's was just stellar. So I'm gonna say I'd probably give this one about a 7.5, close to an 8. I mean, like I said, it wasn't a bad one. I mean, other than like the last match, which I thought was ridiculous and random. I really enjoyed it. I really did enjoy it, and the Joe Gacy and Dijak stuff really highlighted it. The Chase U stuff really highlighted it. I mean, and I was telling them before we came on, I thought there was a lot of backstage stuff on this episode, which I was okay with actually because it was all really good, and the matches were okay. They weren't like stellar matches by any means. Um, and so, but I think the backstage stuff made up for it. It was because I enjoyed it. I had a good time. So I would say 7.5, 8, and in sort of that ballpark.
I agree with you too. I think for the similar reasons as you said, I'm gonna give this a 7.5. I still enjoyed this episode, but I will say that last week felt like a stronger episode, and
Hmm.
honestly, last week felt like it should have been the go home show
Yeah.
compared to tonight, which is okay because tonight we got some stuff for Vengeance Day, but I feel like we set up for a lot of things to come past Vengeance Day and potentially start building towards Stand and Deliver in April, which I'm
Right.
so excited for. And I'm pretty sure we're not getting an announcement until the day of Stand and Deliver because if I'm correct, the next pay per view is probably going to be Battleground for NXT because the last 2 years it always goes Vengeance Day. It goes Vengeance Day, Stand and Deliver, Battleground. Um, I don't know if Great American Bash is going to be the summer one because we're getting Heat Wave in July in Toronto, which is going to be interesting. And then after the summer one, always usually comes No Mercy and then Deadline. So this is going to be interesting. But me and Will aren't going to be going anywhere anytime soon. Like I said, you're going to be seeing another video shortly from us later this week with our predictions for Vengeance Day. So stay tuned for that one. But if you enjoyed what we do here, make sure you subscribe, hit the bell notification, and check out other things we have here on the Biconics YouTube channel. Follow us all over the social medias at BC WrestlePod. If you want to be an insider and look behind the curtain and look at all the men behind the curtain, so to speak, a la Wizard of Oz, become a Patreon to see exclusive, never before seen videos like our watch alongs. Listen, they are chaotic AF. It is crazy. It is so good. And then, of course, if you can't commit to watching us on YouTube, you can let our voices carry you through your day because we also have podcast versions of all of our reviews now. So that's also a lot of fun. But for myself and Will, this is going to be the last iteration before the rebrand. But me and Will and our third co host are going to be back next week, not only to review the NXT after Vengeance Day, but they will also be a part of the Vengeance Day review. Surprise! But from me and Will and the rest of the Biconics boys, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, and to all the guys, gals, non binary pals, he, she's, theys, and gays of the internet, take care of yourself. And until the next review, we'll see you later. But until then, ta ta for now. Thank you so much for tuning in to another Vibe Tribe production. What's going to happen next time? Well, you're going to have to tune in to find out. But until then, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, and as always, make sure that you keep the good times rolling. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you next time.